Welcome to this MidiManager tutorial. I am the developer of MidiManager, and in this video I'll teach you how to add any MIDI device to MidiManager. In this video I'll add the APC Mini. This would be a weird thing to do for you because the APC Mini is already supported by default. But for this video it fits as a good example. I'm using MidiManager version 2.0.0. It shouldn't matter that much, but if things look differently for you, this is probably the reason. When you start up MidiManager with no devices connected, this is how it will look like. Let's now add our own custom device. Let's press the Custom Device button. And here we are in the Custom Device Creator. In the bottom left corner, we have a to-do list on what to do to create our own custom device. Let's start from the top and go from there. First, we need to select a MIDI device. Let's go to Device and select the APC Mini. Now, we'll need to add a background. Here you can see the tools. Different tools create different panels. Let's now add a background panel. I'm not holding and dragging, I'm clicking and then clicking again. If you click on any panel, you can find its properties under Selection. I can also change them here. I can also see that there's a shortcut for moving and resizing. I can use Q to move and A to resize. The goal is to recreate our APC Mini in this window. So let's add some buttons. You don't need to add every single button separately. These are button holders. They have a grid which you can change. Don't forget to save. The last thing I want to add are the sliders. So let's do that. And here we are. The next thing on our list is to configure the input. We need to tell MidiManager what buttons we have on our MIDI device. I'm selecting this button holder and I'm going to press on Configure Input. Now I only have to do what the blue text says. So let's press the button that's highlighted in green. If you were to make a mistake while pressing these buttons, you can always use this button or this button to skip back and forth between the buttons. Let's configure the other buttons. Let's configure the inputs for our sliders. We're already down to the last thing, which is configuring the outputs. We only have to configure the outputs for our buttons. Configuring the outputs tells MidiManager what color your buttons can be. Let's start with the big grid and press Configure Output. My LEDs are indeed turning on, so I'm pressing Yes. This window may seem a bit overwhelming, but it's actually really simple what you gotta do here. You have to do the following. You can use this number to change the signal that's sent to your device. The buttons turn different colors with different signals. All the signals for the APC Mini are pretty low, but most of the time the signals will be spread evenly around this slider. So let's find some colors. I already know that there's a lot of greens, but I also saw that the 1 sends a green. You may ask yourself which number to choose. It doesn't matter. So for this example, I'm just going to use a random number. Let's choose 38 and let's add it to the list. So 38 is green. Let's add some more colors. The APC Mini also has some blinking colors, but I don't need those. 5 seems to turn my buttons yellow. So let's add 5 and set it to yellow. 3 seems to be red. And that's all. I'm done and I'm pressing done. Now I have to repeat this process for the other buttons. The LEDs are turning on. I've done this before, so I know that these buttons can only turn red. I'm gonna add the color red. And the number doesn't really matter because the buttons can only turn red. Now I'm going to configure the right strip of buttons. And because I've done this before, I know these buttons can only turn green. So for an example, I'll select 19 and green. Now the last button, this button does not have any LEDs in it, so it won't turn on, and even this way it won't turn on. MidiManager is now telling me that it is not able to turn the light on in this button. This button doesn't even have a light, so that's correct. Let's save, and we're done now. So we can close out of the custom device creator, and the only thing left to do is just restart MidiManager. And here we are. We can now use our own custom device with MidiManager. Just notice one very important thing. If you make changes to your profile, like this, for example, and later you want to change the layout of this custom device, MidiManager will tell you that you cannot, because MidiManager builds your profiles on top of the custom device that you've just created. So be careful with this. You can always change around scales like this, and you can always move things around. But if you want to make big changes, for example, add buttons or remove some, you will have to delete all your profiles for this device. If you've done that, then you can add more buttons and sliders. That's it for this tutorial on MidiManager. If you have any questions or need help, feel free to join the Discord server. Thanks for watching and goodbye.